So we're going about figuring out the pedal setup here. We got our little, what we've been referring to as the pedal simulator. It's just a little chunk of 1-inch square tube scrap that we welded this metal, I don't know, little chunk of steel rod onto that hooks onto the return spring, and currently held in with some chunks of wood that are just there as shims and a bunch of zip ties, but trying to get an idea of what we're going to do with pedals. Alright, so we think we have an idea of what we're going to do. We're going to bring some chunks of plate up as brackets off of this frame rail here on the inside of it so that they'll come up through the basket near this area that we got marked out in Sharpie. We think those are going to have to be clearance to let those tabs come up and through. And then we're going to make some spacers out of the 1-inch square tubing that'll weld to the side of this chunk of tubing that holds the pedal. So we'll make the spacer and the pedal unit all into one piece, and then we're going to drill 4 holes that'll run through the pedal, through the spacer, and through the tab so that we can bolt that all together, and hopefully it'll rip. Alright, so we ran into a little bit of an issue with the original plan there. You can see we got our tab tacked into place down there. Yeah, there it is. But this whole thing with like the basket getting put in those 2 holes back there and then having to get like swung down into place. We're having the same issue we had with the steering hoop, where we'd have to notch a lot of the basket to get it to swing around that tab, and I don't think we're willing to sacrifice that rigidity in the basket up at this point, because that's a little more critical here up against the edge in the front. So complete change of plans. Got to cut those tacks, pull the bracket out, and figure out what we're gonna do. Got this little model pedal bracket tacked together, and now we're trying to figure out how we're going to bolt it up there. Alright, so we just got both holes drilled here. Had to take off the wheel to get access to it, so throw that on now, throw the basket back on, and throw the pedal on, and see how it all looks. Alright, we got the whole thing bolted in there, and it looks pretty clean. Obviously, I'll have to come back and finish up these welds and add a cap on the end of the tube later, but yeah, pretty happy with how that turned out. We got a little bit of clearance here from the plastic on the front, and yeah, it looks pretty sweet. Alright, so now that we've proven that this pedal assembly works, we got to take it apart, and I'm going to mirror image the thing and make one for the brake pedal as well. So that's what I'm up to now. Alright, so I got all my pieces cut out here to assemble another one of these. And now I gotta grind down the edges that I'm gonna weld. I have a couple of holes to drill, like those 3. And yeah, clean them up, weld them together. Alright, so I got the hole drilled in the side that the pedal bolts to, and yeah, got everything cleaned up. Start welding stuff together, I guess, yeah. So we got our pedals in there and it looks pretty darn sweet. We got gas pedal and we got our brake pedal in there. And they both have plenty of clearance with the front of the basket, and their positionings are pretty darn symmetrical. So pretty happy with how that turned out. And yeah, that means we've got the basis for all our controls done now. We've got our steering system all figured out. We've got our pedals figured out. And now we just need to figure out how to link the pedals up to the brake and the throttle in the back. So, yep, a lot of progress. So, nice to see.